Hi everyone. I'm going to be testing out my tent and my sleep system and my clothing on a cold night. See how that works out. It's supposed to get down to about 20 degrees, maybe a little bit lower, 10 to 20 mile an hour winds. And I'm also going to test out making videos and setting up a YouTube channel, so here we go. The gear I'll be testing first is my tent setup, my Zpacks ground cloth, and Zpacks Duplex tent. And inside the tent, on the very floor of the tent, I'll have this foil on the bottom beneath my air mattress. And this is actually just a windshield screen. I just tore the edges off. I'm hoping it'll give me a little extra protection when it's really cold. I have no idea, but we'll find out. I have inflatable air mattress. This is the Nemo Vector. It has the integrated foot pump because I'm sure that I'll be feeling real lazy at the end of the day at camp, and super quick to inflate. And then I have a quilt. It's the Enlightened Equipment Enigma, I believe it is, rated 20 degrees. Clothing. First I'll have a base layer. I have a top and a bottom from Under Armour. Their thermal underwear. It's the warmest, I think, at 4.0. And since it might be a little colder than what my sleeping bag is actually rated, I'm going to supplement that with my hiking pants and my Mountain Hardwear down jacket and hood. And I am super cold all the time, so on top of that, I'm going to keep my extremities warm as well. So I have these are Possum socks from Zpacks, I believe it is. Down booties from GooseFeet Gear on top of those. Then I have some down mittens because I'm serious, y'all, I'm super cold. I think these are Enlightened Equipment. And then I'll also have a little beanie, and in case my face gets real cold, when these little things, what do you call them? Covers your face and your ears, if it's needed. And because I'm going to try to make it as realistic a night as possible, I'll also be keeping a few things inside the quilt with me that would otherwise freeze. So I'll be keeping my water bottles, Sawyer squeeze filter that cannot freeze, extra batteries, my cell phone, and also my shoes, because from what I've heard, if they get wet and you leave them out, they'll be frozen when you put them on in the morning. So another option would be to sleep with them to keep them from freezing over. All right, y'all, let's get set up. Did it. Somewhat. It looks pretty good. We'll be back tonight. All right, well, here we are. Snug as a bug. All tucked in for the night. Coming back in here tonight went pretty good. I've got my shoes and my water and my batteries and my phone in here in my foot box down at the bottom of the sleeping bag. Bad news is I forgot to bring my Sawyer filter in with me before I returned to my tent, so I'm pretty sure it's been under 32 degrees, in which case I'll have to replace my filter due to stupidity. As you can see, well, you could a second ago. You can see my breath, so it's pretty cold. My phone says it's 23 degrees right now. Should dip pretty cold. Tent's blowing around because there's high wind. Let's see if we survive. Nighty night. Good morning, everybody. So I survived the night, thank goodness. I'm not gonna lie, it was a real cold night, and I only stayed out here the full 8 hours out of sheer determination of will to see if I could actually make it. And I found out that I can survive in those temperatures in this current equipment, but that I would like to make some changes. So it's a good thing we did this practice. So I did a little bit of research, and here's what I found. A little bit more detail on my equipment that I used. Again, I use the Enlightened equipment. This is the Revelation quilt. I did not use the straps to put it onto my pad. I just thought I'd try it without and see if I actually needed it. It worked out pretty good for me. I actually used the little clips, if you can see them. There's little clips that you put the straps on, and I actually just clipped them behind me and clipped it closed right behind me, rather than clipping it to the straps around the pad. But I'll play around with that and see if that makes any difference. But in going back through my emails with Enlightened equipment, I opted for the 20-degree one because I'm trying to not have to swap out any of my gear on the trail. It just seems like a big pain to me. So I'm trying to get what would work, a nice medium, and see how I can supplement it and make it through those cold nights. So I got the 20-degree quilt, but in looking through my emails a while ago with an Enlightened equipment, they said that the 20-degree rating is for men. If I'm a woman and I'm trying to get down to 20, I should really get a 10-degree bag. And since I told them that I'm a cold sleeper, they also recommended that I go 10 degrees lower than that and get the 0-degree quilt, which for whatever reason I opted not to follow those instructions, and I got the 20-degree instead. So I'm going to stick with this. I did email them to see if at this point, if they're able to, I don't know, maybe add some extra down in there to rate it down to a 0 for me if I were to ship it back to them. That's an option. Depends how much it's going to cost. I'm not sure about that one yet. But I also posted about this, the ratings within the Homemade Wanderlust backpacking forum. So thank you to everybody who replied to my question there. Some people said that the ratings for the sleeping bags are not for your comfort level, but just survivability. So if it's rated 20 degrees, you can survive at 20 degrees, but that does not mean that you're going to be sleeping comfortably through the night. So that's something to consider as well. I planned to supplement it to try to make up the difference. So as I had mentioned, I have this windshield screen that's foil on one side. I had hoped to put that on the ground underneath my pad to add a little bit of R value, to keep from losing my body heat down into the ground, or vice versa, having the cold air come up through my pad. At first it turned out that I felt pretty cold. The air mattress below me felt really cold, so at one point I decided to try something different, and I took that windshield screen and I put it on top of my pad and underneath my quilt, and that actually seemed to help. I was surprised because I thought it would work better on the floor of the tent. And with my quilt, I was wearing a beanie, the hood of my down jacket, and on top of my base layers I also had this puffer coat and my hiking pants, and I had down mittens for my hands, I had Possum socks for my feet, and also down booties for my feet. And to be honest, it wasn't enough. My feet were really the problem area. While I was cold, I was uncomfortable and it was difficult to sleep. My body core felt a decent temperature, but my feet were blocks of ice. I had said I'm a cold person in general. My hands and my feet and my nose are always markedly cold, but they were colder than I've ever felt them. It was a problem. So I'm thinking that I don't know that I can get any more layers on my feet per se, but maybe my body was just trying to keep my core warm, and so the blood was not going to my feet hardly at all. So what I'm thinking of, oh, you know what? And I forgot to talk about my pad just a little bit more. It's the Vector, Nemo Vector again. It's rated 30 to 40 degrees, I just saw online. And again, I was hoping to supplement it with this little windshield screen. I don't know what else I could do to get it warmer. Again, I don't want to swap out equipment mid-trail. So another option would be if I were to carry a closed, is it called a closed cell foam pad in addition to it? Maybe this little windshield screen isn't quite enough. If I were to carry another pad and double them up while I needed it. Put that on the ground underneath my air pad, that could perhaps work. Other thing I'm thinking of doing is I got the quilt because I do not like the restriction of mummy bags. I'm a side sleeper. So I was really trying to avoid the bag liner for the same reason. I felt like I would have problems with that. But as it turns out, I think that's actually going to be my next step to try to improve my sleep system. I'm not sure how heavy I will go with it or if I'll get a super light one, but I think that's the easiest thing to try next. If that doesn't work, I'm again considering increasing the down in my quilt, and the third option is to perhaps carry a foam pad in addition to the air pad. So as far as the temperatures for last night, I wasn't sure if my sleeping bag was rated to 20 degrees, does that mean 20 degrees regular temperature or 20 degrees wind chill? So last night it started at 21 degrees, went down to 16 by the end of the night. It felt though like 6 degrees at first and 1 degrees at the end of the night or in the morning. The humidity went from 47 to 46% and the wind went from 17 to 15%. And Enlightened Equipment did note that both wind and dampness can affect the temperature rating or how warm you are in your quilt. So I think the answer to my original question is it's the actual temperature that those ratings are for, because it doesn't take into account wind or dampness. So there's that. But while I was trying to fall asleep and stay warm, when I could get my hands out of my bag enough without them freezing, had Kyle Roerig's nice book, Lost on the Appalachian Trail, to keep me company and inspired. So if I can, I'll try to put a link down there on my page for purchase. And that's it. So this has been lengthy follow-up talk in the morning, but so this is my very first video I've made, the very first time that I've used iMovie to do my editing, very first time uploading to a YouTube channel. So hey, here we go, first time. It's the first time for everything, right? So thanks for watching. I appreciate any suggestions y'all might have, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.